In a peaceful village, a wise old farmer named Ravi lived a simple and content life. He worked hard in his fields, enjoying the beauty of nature and the rhythm of the seasons. One year, however, a terrible storm swept through the village, destroying his crops completely. The once green fields turned into a wasteland, leaving Ravi with nothing to harvest. His neighbors gathered around him, filled with pity. They shook their heads and said, "You must be very sad. This is such a terrible misfortune." But Ravi did not frown or complain. Instead, he smiled gently and said, "Who knows what's good or bad?" His calm response confused the villagers. How could he stay so peaceful after such a huge loss? To them, losing a year's worth of crops meant disaster. No food, no income, and months of hardship. Yet Ravi did not allow sadness to take over his heart. He believed that life had its ups and downs, and every situation had a hidden purpose. While others worried about the future, Ravi remained patient and hopeful. He continued with his daily routine, tending to whatever was left of his land, believing that something good could still come from his loss. A few days after the storm had destroyed his crops, Ravi was sitting outside his small hut, enjoying the evening breeze. He had accepted his loss and continued with his daily life without complaints. One afternoon, a rich merchant passing through the village heard about Ravi's misfortune. Curious about the farmer's calm attitude, he decided to visit him. When he arrived, he saw Ravi tending to his land with the same dedication as before. The merchant was impressed by Ravi's peaceful nature despite his hardships. "I have heard of your loss," he said, "and I want to help you." He handed Ravi a bag full of gold coins and said, "Use this to rebuild your farm and take care of yourself." The villagers were astonished when they heard about this unexpected fortune. "You are so lucky, Ravi," they exclaimed. "This is the best thing that could have happened to you." But Ravi remained as calm as before. He smiled and said, "Who knows what's good or bad?" His words puzzled the villagers again. They could not understand why he never let success or failure affect his peace. For Ravi, life's events were beyond control, but his attitude was always in his hands. One night, while the village was asleep, a group of thieves sneaked into Ravi's house. They had heard rumors about the bag of gold he had received from the merchant. Moving silently in the darkness, they searched every corner until they found the gold. Without hesitation, they took everything and disappeared into the night. The next morning, when Ravi discovered that his gold was gone, he remained calm. His neighbors were horrified when they heard the news. They rushed to his house, expecting him to be devastated. "This is terrible, Ravi. How will you recover from such a loss?" they cried. But Ravi simply smiled and said, "Who knows what's good or bad?" His response shocked the villagers. How could he be so peaceful after losing something so valuable? Most people would have been filled with anger or sadness, but Ravi refused to let the situation disturb his peace. He continued working on his land as if nothing had happened. The villagers whispered among themselves, unable to understand his way of thinking. They believed he had suffered a great misfortune, but Ravi knew that life had its own way of unfolding, and every event carried a hidden purpose. A week after the robbery, the village was visited by the king's soldiers. They had been ordered to recruit strong young men for an upcoming war. The villagers were filled with fear, knowing that those taken away might never return. The soldiers moved from house to house, selecting the fittest men to join the army. Many families wept as their sons and husbands were taken. When the soldiers reached Ravi's home, they found him sitting peacefully outside. Seeing his calm nature, they asked if he was willing to serve in the army. However, one of the soldiers noticed that Ravi seemed weak and exhausted. Losing his gold had caused him stress, making him look unfit for battle. The leader of the soldiers shook his head and said, "He is of no use to us. Leave him." They moved on, leaving Ravi untouched. The villagers, who had once felt sorry for him, were now amazed. "You are lucky, Ravi. If your gold hadn't been stolen, you would have been taken too, they said. But Ravi only smiled and replied, "Who knows what's good or bad?" The villagers were beginning to understand that every situation had its own purpose. Over time, the villagers began to see the wisdom in Ravi's words. They had watched him face both good and bad times with the same calm attitude. Whether he lost his crops, received gold, had it stolen, or was spared from war, he never allowed emotions to control him. He simply accepted life as it came, believing that every event had a hidden meaning. One day, a young man from the village approached Ravi and asked, "How do you stay happy in every situation? Most people feel joy in good times and sadness in bad times, but you remain peaceful no matter what happens." Ravi smiled and replied, "Happiness is not found in events. It is found in how we react to them. If we accept life with an open heart, we will never suffer." The young man thought deeply about Ravi's words. He realized that most people wasted their time worrying about things they could not control. But Ravi's wisdom taught him that true happiness came from within. From that day on, the villagers tried to follow Ravi's example. They learned to accept life's ups and downs, and in doing so, they discovered the secret to lasting happiness.